Welcome to Here We Are, a podcast where I share my writings, thoughts, and things worth paying attention to. I'm your host, Ben Savio, and today I'll be reading you an essay I wrote. I hope you enjoy. The morning routine that'll change your life. I woke up and checked my sleep score on my Garmin watch that was $859. I scored a 63, which feels low, not dangerously low. Just low enough to be annoying, like getting a C+ since I graded on a curve with my own average sleep score. My guess is my sleep score slipped because I had a stowaway 3-year-old sneak into my bed last night. Or maybe it was because I forgot my magnesium supplement, $17.99, which apparently means my muscles spent the night clenching like I was being chased by a bear in my dreams. I head downstairs, already feeling that 63 in my bones, reaching for coffee like a normal human being, but then I remember something my algorithm told me. Hydrate before caffeine to get your kidneys going, quote unquote. I don't know where they're going, but apparently they need a head start. So I fill a glass of water halfway, and then I dump it out because I remember mid-pour that even though I pay taxes, the water coming from my tap might double as a long-term experiment like the lead poisoning in Flint, Michigan. I look at my fridge and my Brita filter, $19.99, both sharing the commonality of a blinking red light, reminding me to replace their filter, a task I will not be doing at this ungodly hour. I pour the water anyways and add an electric light mix, Relight, $39.99, because plain water is no longer good enough, and Relight has stevia instead of sugar unlike its toxic counterparts. God forbid I get hydrated like a peasant. I finish that so I can finally sit down and enjoy my coffee, but not before I adjust my chair so that the morning sunlight hits my eyes because Daddy Andrew Huberman told me so the sunlight can reset my circadian rhythm. And I trust a man who says penile glands with that level of confidence. I don't know what a penile gland does, but it's getting blasted with sunlight either way. I sit down, open my meditation app, $9.99 a month, and meditate so my dopamine doesn't spike, unlike my blood sugar levels, thanks to that coffee creamer I added. A practice I will not be giving up, thank you very much. I finish meditating, I feel calm, or at least aware I should feel calm. I take a shower and wash myself with Dr. Squash's organic soap, $8.29. To avoid getting more microplastics in my balls, the one commonality I share with Elon Musk. I put on the Salt and Stone deodorant, $20, which proudly contains no aluminum and yet privately lasts half as long as its toxic counterparts. By noon, I will most likely smell like a high school locker room with good intentions. And just like that, I am ready to begin my day. And while this may seem comical to read, this is actually a pretty honest snapshot of the subconscious dialogue for many of us living in the current market trends of the 21st century. When the economy feels like a casino, at least you can control your body fat percentage. When you can't afford a house, you can still afford to be beautiful. So we turned the human body into the last reliable asset and built a multi-billion-dollar industry around optimizing it. Sometimes I think about my mom and how she has never set foot in a gym or known her sleep score and yet still raised 7 kids. Let me say that for the people in the back. 7 kids. Man, does that number of kids scare parents today. Probably because if we had to raise 7 kids, we'd lose everything we've worked so hard to build. Our morning routine, our meditation practice, our red light therapy. Of course, it takes a high heart rate to raise 7 kids and keep a house clean. No Garmin or Oura Ring needs to tell you that. I wonder if she would have ended a party early or sent the neighbors home and say, if I don't go to bed now, I won't get my 8 hours, but thanks for coming, and miss the actual thing that research has proved to be the rocket fuel of longevity and good health, which is meaningful social community. So I'm just going to come out and admit it. I fell for the modern sales pitch of self-optimization, hook, line, and sinker. Cold plunges, sleep scores, blood panels, supplements, peptides, midlife crisis marathons. That's me, baby. And I fell for it because who doesn't want to be the best version of yourself? What's wrong with treating your life like a startup, something to be upgraded, optimized, fine-tuned, if we really do only get this one wild and precious life, as Mary Oliver told us? The answer is a little more seductive and a little more subtle, because none of these things are inherently bad. Gym routines, red light masks that make you look like a robot, self-care rituals are all just tools, modern ones. And this is where Henry David Thoreau's words cut like a knife when he warned that we can all become tools of our tools. If you've ever worked in sales, then you probably learned to recognize when someone was quietly trying to convince you that you're not enough, subtly suggesting that you're just one tweak away from a better life, especially when those tweaks come with a monthly subscription. You can never be optimized enough. There's always another product, another routine, another level, another thing to fix. The goalposts move every time you approach it, because the real danger isn't optimization itself. It's what it becomes when you step back far enough to finally see it clearly. A life overanalyzed, but a life underlived. Yes, the modern sales pitch is subtle, almost noble, because underneath it is a quiet suggestion that life is something to maximize, calibrate, and improve, instead of life being something to be felt, experienced, and enjoyed. A race to be won instead of a dance to be practiced. A machine to be improved instead of a song to be played. Not everything good in life needs to be upgraded. That's just your capitalistic programming talking. Some of it just needs to be noticed. And the life we're chasing, it might quietly be happening in the background while you're busy trying to optimize it. Maybe your self-optimization isn't optimizing for yourself, but you're optimizing for the sales of a capitalistic economy. And the reason this sales pitch works so well is because it taps into something deeper, something human, an itch. The kind you feel deep in your ear canal when the Q-tip box explicitly tells you not to go there, but you go there anyways. The human itch for control. In a world that feels more and more out of control. Out of control with gas prices, out of control with the perpetrators of Epstein still running amok, out of control with the average American making less money today adjusted for inflation than his father did in 1975, out of control how world leaders announce that a whole civilization will end tonight on social media between your friends' marriage announcements, out of control when the average first-time homebuyers are now pushing 40 instead the age 29 like they were in 1980s. Out of control with the fear-mongering rise of AI, and out of control with the quiet collapse of the global climate. Yes, out of control might not quite do it justice. Last week, my kids asked me to read the book Horton Hears a Who by Dr. Seuss, where Horton hears a tiny voice coming from a speck of dust and realizes there's an entire world on it, a whole civilization, floating through the air with absolutely no control, just hoping the wind is kind. Lately, I kind of feel like a citizen down there on Whoville more and more, sailing through the air on my own little speck of dust, optimizing, maxing, doing anything I can to convince myself that I have some semblance of control. And if you felt that Horton Hears a Who kind of feeling, a feeling you have no control inside a fleeting, daunting, ever-changing universe, then you know how you subconsciously respond. You start gripping whatever you can. Your supplements, your workouts, your morning routines, your hobbies, your religion, pickleball, family, anything that makes you feel a little less like you're, quote, floating on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam, as Carl Sagan said it. We love optimization for the same reason we love religion, because they both give us structure, a sense of control, a checklist that tells us, hey, you can't control anything out there, but at least you can control what's right here. I remember before my obsession over the analytics of self-optimization and my Garmin watch and Strava, I scratched that same itch for control with spiritual checklists. Same sin, different mask. And what is that sin exactly? It's the sin of disconnecting the means from the end. The sin of mistaking the vehicle for the destination. The sin of getting caught in the thick of the thin things. The sin of winning the battle but losing the war. If we're talking in the context of religion, then we're talking about cultivating a real and living relationship with Jesus Christ. not whether you've said your prayers, got a temple recommend, or studied the Bible today. Don't get me wrong, the Bible can soften your heart, and it can point you towards God, but it isn't the source itself. And if we're talking in the context of self-optimization, then we're talking about being where your feet are, turning up the dial on gratitude, acceptance, and hyper-awareness, not your High Rocks routine, meditation practice, or your Strava workout streak. Could it be easier to feel peace in a body that eats cleaner and moves its body more? Absolutely. Is it easier to think clearer with a meditation practice instead of a doom-scrolling practice right when you wake up? 100%. But we mistake the means for the end. We get caught in the thick of the thin things, the vehicle for the destination, and somewhere along the way we forget the most basic and fundamental truth of why we're actually here. That the meaning of life is just to be alive. It's so plain and so obvious and so simple, and yet everyone rushes around in a great panic as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. It's being so radically aware of how improbable this whole charade here on earth actually is that you can't help but stop and enjoy each breath. That you can't help but hear loud children not as stress or noise, but as the sound of life itself. Because one day, those kids won't be loud anymore. One day, the house will be quiet. And no workout routine, no mindfulness practice, no optimized version of you is going to give that sound back. All of it, the routines, the habits, the tracking, the supplements, they were never the point. They were all just tools. Tools to help you get better at noticing that the amount of good in your life depends on your ability to notice them. Thank you for listening to Here We Are. If this program resonated with you, you can show your support for me and my work by passing this episode along to someone else who you think it might speak to. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you can follow along to all of my weekly thoughts. Thanks for being here.